Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Final Two podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Francillon.
What's up, Lolo? How you doing, Lo? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just in quarantine, trying to figure this stuff out. The world is crazy right now.
Crazy, man. How was could I ask you a question right off the bat? How was virtual graduation, all this stuff? How was that?
It was weird. I mean, I appreciate the attempt at honoring us for graduation, but it was weird, you know.
How did they run it up? How'd they do it?
We had a little bit of a commencement speech in the beginning, and then they actually allowed like I guess whoever sent videos in to like speak on, you know, their accomplishments and what this year meant to them. And as that played on like a slide on one side, they like listed off the names and it just kind of scrolled as
very fast.
Which was a little bit weird. And I'm not going to lie, I missed my name being called on accident.
Oh,
God.
Really?
My dad got it. My dad got it at home, but I missed it. And it was actually really funny, but weird.
Man, that's
I mean,
tough.
would you have wanted, like, what would you have done? Like, say, like, they asked you, like, what to do for virtual, like, or, like, graduation? Because, like, that's the thing.
Because you can't have it, obviously. And then there's there's no way that everybody's going to sit through, you know, like a online 3-hour commencement, you know what I mean? So I really do think they did the best job that they could have. It's just like under the circumstances, it's difficult. I have friends who didn't even have that. They just pushed their graduation to August and they said, okay, you guys can come back in the fall or in the summer. We'll do a graduation, which I feel like is a little bit more problematic considering, you know, so many people from our university are from like everywhere.
Exactly. Plus, like, you go straight into work too. Like, it would be conflicting with schedule. So.
Yeah, they told us we can come back I think in the fall and or in the winter graduation next year, something like that, sometime next year. But
they have another graduation, really?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're gonna have a separate one for us or if we can join like the first graduation of next year, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I heard that possibility.
So I can understand for people like if it's really important, but I'm most likely gonna try and get another degree, so hopefully I'll have another graduation coming up.
So you didn't really care much that there was.
Yeah, like at first it was super emotional because it's like, geez, like I went to school for 4 years, you know, this is about to be like the best day of my life, you know, and then
I know
it's canceled, everything's canceled, and I think there's a certain process, like psychological process that you go through when you're leaving school. You have time to say bye to your friends, time to move out, time to adapt and understand that this huge portion of your life you're moving on from. And all of this happened for us within a week. You know, I was on the road, I was at a playoff game. On the court, they're like, your season's over. So I'm like on the bus in tears, and we get back and they're like, actually move out of your room and go home. So at that point, nobody knew, are we going to come back? Are we going to say goodbye? So it was just it was bittersweet because everybody was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's like summer break is starting, you know, so everybody was excited. But at the same time, I was a little bit more mature in the fact that I was like, well, if I say bye to you now, am I going to see you a couple months from now? You know what I mean? Because I don't know where my life and my journey is going to take me to end up back in New Jersey. But, you know, it was very interesting, and I'm at an okay place with it now. But I definitely feel for everybody, even high school seniors and stuff that had to go through that, because it was tough. It was a tough experience.
No, it's crazy you talk about the journey. Talk to me about your senior year, hanging up your Division I basketball players, basically your last year. How was that? The whole ride, the senior year, how was that?
Yeah. And you had a crazy comeback story too. So I'd love to hear.
She went off. She did her thing this year.
Yeah, so senior year was definitely, I would say it wrapped up a very interesting 4 years for me. Our season ended super well. We actually finished third in our conference, which was the best we've done in a really long time, which was really cool. We had a pretty big upset against Mount St. Mary's in the playoffs. That was
Which you went off.
Yeah.
That feeling.
Come on now.
You went off. 40 points? How much was it?
I know. I had 33.
33? It felt like 40. Oh, my God.
I literally feel like I was unconscious that game. But honestly, like, the whole season, I feel like led up to that moment. You know, we worked so hard. We got a new coach this year who's
amazing.
Incredible. She's so great. But yeah, like my senior season, I'll start from a little bit in the beginning. I came in as a freshman, you know, under Coach Pete Sanella, who I love. And we worked hard, and we had pretty good teams my freshman, sophomore, junior year. But it didn't really click for us. So they chose to go a different route, and he ended up leaving us. He went to Seton Hall, which is pretty cool for him. But they brought in Coach Ange, who completely transformed our program, which was incredible. It
That
was
coaching
tough
too.
at first. It was completely different speed, different stuff going on. But we had a little bit of a rough start. I think we lost our first like 10, 12 games, which was hard. It might be less than that. I'm not exactly sure. I started off with a concussion. I missed my first 5 or 6 games, and I was super, disheartened by that because, it's your senior year, whether you're in high school, college, whatever, you're like, let's go. This is it. You're ready, train all summer, all spring, whatever. And then I had this concussion and I was super limited, couldn't do anything. I came back and,
Went off.
Well, you take 5, 6 games off, there's a little bit of a learning curve when you come back.
Yeah.
So it took
especially
a little
with a new coach.
Yeah. So I couldn't come back in and just do exactly what I wanted to do right away. So there was a little bit of a learning curve there, and we battled people in playoffs or in conference, and we did pretty good. And then in the end, it just felt like kind of like a Cinderella story with everything we had happen to us: injuries, new coach, getting ranked 9th in the preseason polls, and then we come out and we get 3rd, and then it just kind of crushed our spirits, that we were going to playoffs, we're headed to playoffs, and then they shut us down. But it was a very, very interesting process, and definitely a learning and growing experience year and as a whole for me. I think I developed more as a person than as a player, which in turn helped make my game or take my game to another level. That I can say that my freshman year I wasn't at the place mentally that I was at my senior year. And I don't think people talk about how big like your headspace is in any athletics, any sports, anything in general. I know they stress it for like golf, but especially in basketball, like you have to be in the right space. And I think that my relationship with my head coach that I have now, and just some of the tools that I use and some of the things that I learned from my freshman year helped me get to that space. But sometimes I wish like I could just have been there my freshman year, and I would have been, I don't like to think like, oh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I think that if you can go into college with some tools and some, wisdom from me, if I could tell somebody, it's part of my experience, maybe
like tell yourself your freshman year something.
Yeah, if I could tell myself in my senior year in high school, if I could tell my little sister who's about to be a senior and wants to play collegiate volleyball, there's just so many things that you can say to a young person and just hope that they listen to make the experience so much easier, because there's so much that you just don't.
Like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. It's like a whole new world you're getting yourself into that you don't understand. I feel like you're really adding to that. And how did that feeling of a new coach your senior year, how did that feeling, how did that do any, were you a little nervous at first when you hear a new coach my senior year, like,
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, unless I get hurt or something crazy happens, this is my last year of eligibility. This is it for me. So, my old coach got fired and our whole coaching staff, got let go. And it was hard because all of us were terrified. We're like, oh my gosh, this could go so many different directions. You know what I mean? There's horror stories of people getting new coaches and, getting kicked off the team or getting let go, or, the coach just completely not wanting anybody because those aren't his or her, recruits. So we got so lucky with Coach Ange. And at first, like I said, it was like there was a learning curve. She coaches.
Of course, there's always is.
Yeah, so it was completely different at first, but of course I was scared. But at one point, and this is something that I've learned, you can't change, what happens in life, and you can't change what happens to you. And things are always going to happen. All you can really have control over, is your reaction. So as a senior, and at the time I was a junior, the seniors were enjoying their spring and still there, and we got a new coach. And as a senior, I think, and multiple seniors on our team, we had a handful, we decided, as a group, like, we don't have a choice. We got to come in. We have to, love and respect that whoever comes in and wants to transform our program. And I think that the sooner we bought in, the sooner,
the easier it was going to be the transition. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at first, it was she had us, you can ask her, she had us running crazy amounts of sprints, like doing things that my body like had never done in my life. And as a senior, I'm like, geez, like I got to this point and I didn't do this stuff. I don't know why I need to do it now. Like this is so extra, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I
facts.
think that at the point when I realized like, all right, she's not changing, you know, and she comes from a long line of success. So, you know, we had to look at that and we had to trust in her and like blindly have faith in her as her first year being a head coach. She was learning too. But, you know, we had to trust in that. And I think that, you know, when you're growing like that with a group of people, especially my team and my coach, and you're all starting at nothing and nobody expects anything from you, I think it makes it that much easier, you know, because you have nothing to lose.
It's like you're the underdog, right? You're always trying to compete, trying to learn every day more and more, and that's just
it was a super cool experience. And you know, that's why I will recommend athletics to anybody, because it will transform you and put you through things that, you know, 4 years of college does not do to, you know, the average person, I don't think. And there's so much stuff that all of us have learned from that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
And I vouch for that. I feel like sports really changes you. It really prepares you for life before, because in sports, it's always a competition. You're always competing, especially basketball. Oh my God, you guys are always head to head with someone. In baseball's a little different because you have a team.
Yeah.
Like you have to wait, and there's a lot of waiting period. But you guys go head to head with a person, face to face. So that competitiveness. What would you say? I mean,
no, yeah, like even our practices were so competitive this year, and naturally, I am not like a super competitive person. Like I would say I'm definitely more on like the timid end. Like when I was younger, I was like, I would flinch like when the ball would come at me. Like I was never trying to like hit somebody in the post or whatever. So she came in right away and instilled this, you know, this competitive mindset that it's not okay to lose ever in any aspect of your life. That if you can give 100% and you know you gave 100%, then it's okay if, you know, not the best happens to you. But unless you give 100%, like you can never, ever, ever be okay with losing. And even if you do, you know, it's hard. So I would say even with that, you know, that just a year or however many months we spent with her, that alone, you know, transcended into my normal life. You know what I mean? Like I had my first internship last summer,
you
you know, while she was doing our summer session. Like I was doing my internship, like I would have workouts at 6 a.m., go to my internship, 9 to 5, after go back to the school, shoot, get shots up. You know what I mean? I was like doing double time. And that whole time I was probably complaining, to be honest. But now I look back and I'm like, you know, this
you miss it. It's like you miss it.
You must have been exhausted.
Oh my God.
Crazy. I really genuinely, I don't know how I did it looking back now, but knowing that I had that, you know, and at the time that was when I really had that mindset, and I was like, you know what?
Something clicked, right?
You know, this really sucks,
yeah.
But like, I wake up at 6 a.m. Nobody's up in the summer in June, July at 6 a.m. And I'm getting work done. I'm, you know, getting shots up, sprints, drills, whatever. And then I go to work and work on my career in a professionally, you know, professional, like just to be a professional, you know, and not a lot of people do that at our age, especially in athletics.
And you're getting an accounting degree. It's not like you're getting a regular degree. You're getting an accounting degree. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it was tough. So I think that, you know, that competitiveness helped me in my job. It helped me, you know, I was supposed to do a 6-week internship. You know, they said, you know what, we love what you're doing. We love your work ethic. We love your, you know, personality. Come work for 12 weeks. So I was ecstatic about that too. So I'm just like, okay, maybe this mindset thing that I have and this personal growth and development can help me in other ways. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what has been clicking with me lately, because it's all mental. It's all mental.
It's all mental.
Sure. And I love that you take that too. Like, you know, you're taking the aspects from basketball and bringing it into your, like your actual career, like how you were talking about it. So I want to talk about, you know, beginning of the year, again, your comeback story. You guys are like, I think it was 0-6, like 6 games in a row you guys lost.
Yeah.
But again, you talk about that mentality. How were you guys able to maintain that strong working mentality and to really flip the switch and become successful in the season?
Yeah, like I said, it was tough. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to say there were times when me personally, a handful of us as a team, felt completely defeated. And when you go out there and, you know, you're playing these teams and you're losing, and none of us, all, like, if you think about it in Division I athletics, you're getting the cream of the crop in high school environments and high school teams. You know what I mean? Everybody,
Yep, the best of the best.
Everybody won a state championship. Everybody was player of the year. Everybody was MVP, 1,000-point scorers, that kind of stuff. So you're taking winning players, and somebody's got to lose those games. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, it was us. And we were at a point where a lot of our morales were low, and, you know, people talk about, you know, what's the point? Why are we doing this? We're losing. Like, we go to practice and we work hard every day. And we had team meetings and we talked about it. And I think that that's also important to do, is be a collective with your team and be a united front. And we talked about it. And it's like, we came to the consensus that, you know, whether we like what's going on right now, whether, you know, we're struggling and having a really hard time, like, we know how hard we're working. We all know that we've never, ever worked this hard mentally, physically, emotionally together as a team. You know, this has got to click. Like, something has got to click. And that's whenever I will coin Joel Embiid's phrase, you got to trust the process.
Yes.
I think that's what we did. That's what we had to do. And, you know, but if you really look at those games, they weren't blowouts. We weren't getting killed.
Very close games.
We weren't getting killed by 30, 40, whatever. We were playing good basketball. And the thing about it was, you know, when we're walking off the court and we're shaking hands and we're upset, we're like, you know, screw this, like, we just lost. The coaches are speaking to our head coach, and they're like, listen, you know, you guys just lost that game, but this is a completely different FDU than what we've seen in the past, and what, you know, just in many aspects. And a lot of it is just how hard we worked and how hard you could see we wanted. I mean, you guys saw us play prior years to this year. Like, do you think that you could see a difference?
Huge difference. Huge difference. Did you watch The Last Dance by any chance?
Of course.
How did that relate to you? How did you take that? Because, I mean, we've had almost everyone on the show who's come here, just The Last Dance, just that competitive drive. I feel like it's exactly what you're talking about. What Michael Jordan did. It's like, whatever it takes to win.
It got me. I was in my feels. I was watching it and I had tears in my eyes, because I'm like, man, I have no more eligibility, and I want to take this, like, feeling that I have and go out on the court and, like, mess somebody up. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to do that because I see his drive, and he's like, you know, like, there's funny, like, memes and stuff out there that are like, people, like, I saw a meme the other day that was like, somebody in the crowd, or like somebody that Michael Jordan saw, like, before a game, was like, good luck, and he was like, I'm gonna take that personally. Like, I'm gonna
He had that killer mentality. Yeah.
It's so funny to see that and laugh, but really, like, that's what he embodied, and that's how he was, and even all the other players that they talked about on the show. And it's just, like, so cool to see that, and, you know, to see them honor him and so many other people. You know, Scottie Pippen, like, incredible. Just, like, these people that, you know, like, a lot of people in our generation, if you don't know basketball, if you're not a super big fan, you don't know these names. You know, here they're like household names to us, but, like, it was just, I loved it. I loved everything about it. And there were so many takeaways you can get from it. But I will just say that I wish I had some time left on the court.
One thing I took was, like, the old gen coming to the new gen. It's like when you have the OG talking to you, like, yo, like, this is what we used to do type of thing. And it's just crazy. Where did you find that inspiration? Because I know my inspiration my whole life was, you know, I kind of always was behind the ball. I came here as an immigrant. Always, my whole life, I was just chasing that, you know, better myself. What inspiration did you take? Something that clicked, like, I'm going to make it to Division I sports. Like, when was that for you?
Well, I mean, that's kind of an interesting question, because that's something that I will admit I have struggled with finding, you know, my why. And I think that a lot of people have such a clear reason as to what they do. But, you know, I started off when I was younger. You know, I lived in so many different places. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I was born in Houston, Texas. Not a lot of people know that.
You're a Texas girl?
Yeah, just for a little bit though. And then, you know, I moved to California. My dad had a job that, you know, just had us moving a lot. Moved to California for a little bit. Moved to the Philippines for 2 years. From the Philippines,
Wow.
to Frederick, Maryland, and there, you know, my parents got separated, and then we moved to Garrett County, which I doubt anybody could locate on a map if they, you know, from here. And I'm from the smallest town in America. And
You gotta play in your own city.
no, yeah, no, I love it.
Town.
Like I love everything about it here because this is my home and this is where I grew up. But it's interesting, and I came here as one of maybe 6 or 7 Black people in the county or in the town at the time, which was extremely interesting. And I started playing sports, and I was never, I started basketball when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, but I never was like super driven, you know what I mean? And then here, and I played a little bit in middle school. I moved middle schools, came here to high school, and I came to Southern Garrett High School, and their basketball program was pretty good. They didn't win like they didn't go to states and win every state tournament every year, but it was a really good program. And I will shout out my head coach Danny Bosley. He's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. He kind of took me under his wing in 8th grade. I look at it now as an 8th grader, and he saw potential in me and was like, you know what, I see what you're doing and I want to like train you. And he was that OG for me that was like, that
OG talk is different.
Let me show you this post talk. Let me get you in the post and show you how to pick and roll stuff that I didn't even know anything about. You know what I mean? So he kind of brought that passion to me and kind of got me out on the court. And I was going to open gyms every morning at 13 years old from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. You know what I mean? And you don't see that a lot today. Like a lot of kids aren't super involved like that. But I got my passion and stuff just kind of from repetition and falling in love with the game. You know what I mean? But yeah, so my high school wasn't super successful, and it was me, and there was my 8th grade team, champions, undefeated. That's the best. We got to high school and we made it happen. And a couple years later, you got 4 trips to the state tournament. That's never happened. I won a state championship my junior year, and I completely transformed what basketball was in this town and this county. You know what I mean? Let alone the fact that you have a biracial young woman on the court in a county that you don't see a Black person for weeks unless you look in the shadows. You know what I mean? Like, which was very interesting. And I've been thinking about this a lot, especially with everything that's going on now.
And you made an inspirational video. Oh my God.
I have so much to say. Me in high school, I think that not only did I do something for the sports teams and for our program and for my coach and for my teammates, you know what I mean? But
as a community,
it's something for my community to look at. And, I would never talk down on anybody and say anybody's better than anybody else. But there are a lot of small-minded people here and a lot of people that don't know any better and were just generationally raised into ignorance and not understanding race and culture and different types of people. So I think that me coming there and being raised by my mom and my dad, my dad is from Haiti. He moved here from Haiti when he was 18 years old, and my mom's from Vegas. She's white, she's lived everywhere, you know what I mean? Like, she predominantly raised me here, but I was never raised to hate anybody or even hate somebody that hated me. And that's the T, because I was here and there were people here who, were looking at me a little funny, like, who's this on our court? Who's this in our uniform, in our jersey? And I always had a smile on my face. I was always respectful, always, was nice to people. And that challenged the ideals of my community, because I think that that's something they're not used to, and they were never.
100%. There's no better feeling than bringing like a championship to your town. Because I remember coming up as a freshman, I said this in our first episode, was that I got up as a freshman, so I'm like 13 or 14 years old, and I'm playing with these 18, 19-year-olds, a freshman, and a lot of people would scream out the Derek Jeter. There wasn't no racial slurs, I'll be honest, but it was like the Derek Jeter, the thing, and it was a difficult thing. But then our senior year, we ended up winning. The league came almost like got to like the 3rd round in Oak County, something our team's never done in a while. It was a really dope experience to achieve that, and I feel like you're adding to that. It was like that feeling is just
bring change too. Just bring change.
That's how you bring change in the community. How sports could really change a community.
Yeah, completely. Especially because here it's farmland. Like, it's like there's nothing to do. So we have a Friday night basketball game, and if you're not there,
Where are you?
Where are you?
What are you
You know what I
doing?
mean? We would sell out. Our gym would be sold out. Everybody would go. It was one of the coolest experiences ever because high school basketball was our thing. Like everybody loved it. So my jerseys, hung up in the Walmarts, the place, restaurants and stuff. So people know who I am here. But that's why it's so
Copy.
important for me to use this platform and use my entrance into this, very unique and specific area, to try and, spread positive word. And I've had people reach out to me recently saying, you challenged my initial beliefs on, what Black people are and what, people of different cultures and people coming from out of state are. And people here, like I said, are people, there's some small-minded individuals who don't know any better. And people are reaching out and thanking me and saying, you know what, you opened my eyes to be able to, say, you know what, maybe the way I was raised thinking that all Black people are bad and all Black people are criminals and that kind of stuff can be challenged because you are an awesome individual. And, that to me is like enough of a mark, whatever with the state championships, whatever with the
You're a role model in that
year,
community.
that kind of stuff. I like to be able to say that at least one person I influenced their life and, their
Oof.
kids' life to come. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's no better feeling than that. You heard how many kids reach out to me. I mean, a couple kids from my first town, Copac, New York, where I saw my boys, my like closest friends are from there too. And it's like, these kids just reach out to me like, Ali, like I'm gonna let you know, like you're one of my biggest inspiration. Like I want to be just like you. And it's just a cool feeling because you're like, I'm not an MLB. I'm not nothing special. But the fact that someone can reach out and tell you that, especially with this podcast, like so many people are reaching out saying like, it's inspirational just to hear these things. It's not for everyone. I understand that we're not perfect, but it's just dope to hear that, especially with you. Like you're basically a role model in your community. Like you just said, you're a Walmart. That feeling you have. I know where to go now to get a discount. I'm friends with Lauren. Like, saying, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's the thing, like people need to understand is that certain people just want to use their platforms for the better good. It's not about just endorsing yourself. Obviously you had a highly successful time in your high school as well as, winning the championship. But when you transitioned, you kind of learn all those aspects that you accomplished in the past and you try to teach to the youth. And like, likewise, I might not be an athlete myself, but, I come from a small town and I chose FDU, which was not known at all. Everyone was like, why would you go to FDU? Might as well go to Rutgers or a big name school. But nevertheless, like I use that platform and all you have to do is put in the hard work and make a difference. Right. And, that's how you educate people. It's not about going to big name stuff or like you said, like, hearing people say like, all those bad things about, like African Americans, you have to educate yourself. And that's the whole point right now. Like people are not educating themselves. Like I'm a white man and, I might not experience, what African Americans have gone through with the police or in their lives in general. But nevertheless, I'm here and I'm here to learn and I'm here to stand with you. And that's what people need to understand, even,
that's huge,
my skin.
Yeah,
that's
and if everybody
huge.
had that attitude and mindset and ability to listen to those around them, I swear on everything, it would be a completely different situation. You know what I mean? There's just so many people that have their opinions and think like, oh, well, I know I could assume what it's like or what you feel, so you should just feel like this, or you should react in this way or in that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, you can't tell me what I've gone through. You can't tell me you understand because you don't. But the best thing that people who don't get it can do right now is listen. Exactly. And, use what they're learning and, their education and, the resources and be an advocate for other people and be able to speak to their own people and say, you know what, hey guys, like we have no clue, you know what I mean? And, it's our job to do this, that, and the third. So, I just feel like it's so huge that people listen right now.
It's one thing, Lauren, you got 20,000 followers on social media.
I don't know how that
like that's insane to me how you have that many followers. Just the fact that when you put up that video, it's just like, wow, like people will listen to this.
Exactly. For viewers that don't know, Lauren made a very, huge like message on her, platform, on her account.
Beautiful.
And, beautiful. Thousands of people viewed it. And like I myself, Ali, we watched it and we were.
I sent it to my friends.
It was a powerful message. I mean, talk about like what like really made you like drove you to make that message. rather than just sit back and watch everything explode on media?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm sure you guys feel this is a super touchy subject right now. And,
Very touchy.
you know, a lot of people are scared to, you know, talk about this and talk about how they feel inside, and, you know, in fear that, you know, they're not going to be politically correct, or they're going to hurt somebody else's feelings, or, you know, maybe they didn't word something right, so their opinion comes off a different way and then they get backlash for it. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are just kind of like tiptoeing around the situation. And I, you know, I was doing the same thing, and I was sitting at home and I was feeling this emotion and watching the videos, watching the posts and the reading stuff. And I'm like emotionally moved, and I'm like, well, oh my gosh. So I'm having these conversations with my friends. And like I said, I am from a predominantly white community. So a lot of my friends, a lot of the people in my corner are white. So it wasn't necessarily a conversation that I was, you know, excited or, you know, was anticipating to happen. And they know that it was a touchy subject to bring up to me. So it was just kind of like, oh, you heard about this? Yeah. And then nobody would really want to like talk about
it.
So my best friend, we were having a conversation, and she was like, you know what? I love you, and you know where my heart is. And I want to tell you that, like, as a white woman with Black friends living in this area, like, she goes to WVU, so it's a little bit different. She has a little bit more cultural diversity, but she's like, I don't know what I can do. I don't know what I can say. I don't know what the right thing to say is. I don't know what you guys want from us. I don't know how to help, but my heart is there. So my heart's there, and I want people to see that, and it's genuine, and I want to know what I can do, or you know what I mean? So I'm like, geez, like I have certain feelings on that. And like I said about listening and how that's so big right now that a lot of people aren't doing. And I was like, you know what? I have this platform. I have all of these emotions, and I'm like, I would say I'm okay at speaking. You know, I can talk to people. I can.
No, you're an amazing public speaker. For someone so shy,
Sure.
you're really good at projecting the way you
know how to
feel.
project the message, for sure.
You're really good. You're good, really good public speaker. I don't know how many times I say really, but you're a good public speaker.
But yeah, so I was like, you know what? I have this platform. I have this very unique situation living in this area. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who don't get it here, who get me, and they know me, and they love me, and they watched me for years grow from a kid to an adult who I am now. They followed me in college. So if there's anything I can do to speak out, and if they will listen to me, of all people, you know what I mean? I think there's a chance that even if I can get into somebody's head and change something that somebody's feeling, or, you know, make somebody feel a little bit better or heard, because there's so many voices that aren't heard right now. And a lot of people feel like, you know, you can take this to voting, you can take this to anything. A lot of people feel like their individual, you know, attempts aren't noted, like nothing, you know. A lot of people say it all the time, like, well, shit, if I do this, if I say something, if I post something, what does it matter? There's hundreds of thousands or millions of people out there.
That's what people don't understand.
You know?
It's just everyone's different. Everyone's different. I feel like I realized that especially when I got to college. Because I'm over here, my crazy alley coming in. I'm thinking, oh, like, you know, what's up? Everybody's going to like me. And I realized, like, oh, hold up. There's a lot of people way more different than I am, and I'm getting judged. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, hold up. I got to, like, learn how to deal with certain people a certain way.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like what you're saying, it's influencing people and bringing out, like, I'm not scared to say how I feel. Like, I'm not bashing anybody.
Yeah.
I'm saying respectively, and that's exactly what you did in that video. So, oh my God, that was amazing. I love it.
I hope that I got a lot of positive, you know, messages back, and people, you know, that said, wow, like, I knew you in high school, and I kind of watched you in college, but I am so thankful for watching this and seeing you grow as a person, and, you know, taking your time to be calm and collected and speak to people who have struggled, like,
your voice,
being an advocate and using their voice. So thank you for doing that, you know. But there's obviously, when using that platform, there's also going to be people that disagree and people who don't.
100%.
So I didn't necessarily prep myself for. Yeah, I didn't think, you know.
You received a lot of hate?
Say it again?
You received a lot of hate?
I wouldn't say a lot, but I recently, you know, a friend sent me some messages that somebody sent to her, and I'm not going to
Hurts.
repeat any of
Yeah.
the messages and some of the things that were said, but it's just like, you know, I found out a couple days ago, and it was like so just like nothing short of heartbreaking hearing that and thinking, you know, I'm putting this message out, I'm doing this for good, and I'm getting so much positive feedback, and I felt so like energized and refreshed, and I was like, I'm doing something good, and this is all I want to do is help people. And then I read these messages, and it's like some of the stuff that was said was just obviously disagreeing with what I was saying, but then coming at me as a person and saying, well, what do I know? Because this, that, and the third, and they're just assuming I've never been through these experiences, and they're saying, how can you share this? Because da 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 da. And we're not going to get into the looting and the rioting and stuff, but
For
it
sure.
talks about that, and it talks about that kind of stuff. And then it was personal attacks on me and, you know, my family, and that's when it hurts. But that's even more, you know, of a reason to get my message out and to keep posting positive things and using my voice and using my, you know, articulation to be able to speak to
Just
people that don't understand.
The
it's just,
biggest thing is, like, I feel too, like, you had every right to post that message and to even like send it across that platform, because what you did was much better than obviously just staying quiet. I think during these times when you stay quiet, it speaks high in volume. That's the saying we're hearing over and over
Yeah,
again.
and I agree with that, but at the same time, there's something that I've been wanting to say for a long time.
say it, baby. Say it.
And you know, I see the posts and I see people saying, "Oh, your silence speaks volumes and your silence is deafening," and you know, we're taking notes on, you know, your lack of
Hmm.
you know, advocacy. And I completely see where people are coming from with that, and I know what they're trying to say, because it is important to speak up on this and to show that, you know, you are hurt by this, and that as an American, as a human, these things are upsetting to you. But at the same time, I know people. There's a handful of people that I know, and I can say, like, you know what? I've heard you say some stuff that is suspect, and I know how you feel.
Hmm.
And I would never judge anybody, because I think that anyone can turn around, and anybody, you know, can,
Everyone's different.
you know,
Yeah.
I think that there's
Can't
no
judge. Yeah.
helplessness or whatever to anybody. So if I can do something to change your mind, I'm going to try in the best way I can. But what I don't appreciate is the like the large capacity of posts that are coming out that I can tell are disingenuous, which really bothers me, because, you know, I know people are posting for clout, you know, for saying like, oh, I posted, I got my free pass, you know, like, I'll post the black screen and I won't make any comment or anything under it, you
There's
know, for
more to
Blackout
it.
Tuesday.
Exactly.
I'll post a post so people don't look at my Instagram and see that, you know, I'm not doing what everybody else is doing. I'm not doing the right thing. But I'm not educated. I haven't looked into any resources. I don't know the first thing about what's going on in our news and why people's hearts are breaking. You know, all I know is what I feel, you know, what I can assume, you know, what is in my closed mind. And I can see through, you know, people's authenticity. And that is kind of what bothers me. So yes, I will
Difficult.
say that the silence speaks volumes, but at the same time, if you are choosing to speak out and to make these posts or to whatever,
Do it
please
genuinely.
educate yourself.
Exactly. It has to be
Please
genuine.
have some sort of, you know, authentic, you know, care and emotion, because if it doesn't move you, if you're not posting something for, you know, out of the kindness of your heart or because you want to see a difference, I would rather you be silent. You know what I mean? I would rather, this is a very radical statement, but I would rather somebody come out and say, you know what, I'm racist. I don't agree with this. I support this, that, and the third. I would rather know that that is exactly how you
You'll respect that more.
I respect that so much more. Clearly, I have some differences of opinion with your, you know, your beliefs, but I respect that so much more than, you know, bringing somebody into my home, calling somebody my friend, they're smiling in my face, and behind closed doors, you know, the conversations that they're having are no different than the other guy that came out and is posting the stuff on Facebook talking about, you know, how he thinks, you know, the rioting and, you know, the murder was justified and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what my 2 cents on that. Like, I just need people to be more genuine and I am not going to specifically call out anybody as bad as I want to right now, but there are a lot of athletic organizations that are only posting now and that are only making these mass statements because people are reaching out upset.
You know, you know what's crazy too, to add to what you're saying, you know, I could see that you're very passionate about it, was
Sorry, I'm getting
someone,
worked up right
no,
now.
100%, 100%. And I know someone who's close to me who's a cop, and he has a feeling like, hey, like not all cops are mean or bad. And he's been posting things saying that, when he even posted a post like, hey, like you can unfollow me, you can whatever. And I swiped up and I said, bro, I respect you. Like, do that, speak your mind, because you're being genuine about it. You know, it's like everyone has different views on different things, and you're a cop, and I can see why you feel the same way you feel. And you got to respect that, you
But
know?
people are hurt. I have people
Of
in law enforcement
course.
too,
And I
and
respect that.
it's like, geez, you are in a position that is
Yes,
very different than a lot of other people. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna exactly compare it, but
exactly.
like people are looking at you and judging you the same way people look at black people and judge black people.
Yep.
So now you have a little bit of a taste of what that feels like. But at the same time, I see your point, and I see why they're hurting, and I completely support, I completely support that opinion, and I don't think that all cops are bad, and I completely
Of
agree with
course.
you. It's just it's a very interesting time, and I can't tell them how to feel because I don't know, what it feels like to wear a uniform and, support what I'm saying, but be looked at in complete spite and hate and opposite feeling. So now this is my turn to listen and to learn and educate myself on what they're doing. You know what I mean? And how they feel. So it goes both ways. There's so much learning and stuff that we
So
can.
much learning to do. So much learning. We don't have all the answers, and that's something that you're saying right now. It's like, just be honest with yourself. Like, just be truthful with what you're trying to say and the message you're trying to portray during these times. And that's 100% true. I mean, we used to have these conversations. We had this conversation right before the whole quarantine happened. We were having a conversation about a topic around this. We're not going to get really into that, but we said, hey, some things are different. And one of the things, I'll be honest with you, and I'll say it on here, is a lot of people look at me like, wow, you're really close to the basketball team. And it's for the same reason that they understand me. It's a lot easier to connect with people that understand you.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to be with people who you don't feel like are judging you. It's like, hey, I'm myself. Like, I may not be perfect, but this is who I am.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the things that I've realized too, after my accident, I've realized I pick people to be in my life now because of that. People are going to add to your life, because unfortunately, I feel like racism is going to be it's hard. It's like, I can't change how you feel. And if you don't like me, I'm going to just ignore you and continue on. And that's just a huge thing. And I'm passionate
It's
about it as well.
interesting because a lot of people, like, there's completely different opinions on that. And some people want to make it their job to change people's minds. And I will flat out say it right now. I will speak out and I will say my piece to do my best, but I am never going to have that argument, that heated discussion to necessarily, like, that's going to get bad and ugly and hateful things are going to be said. I will say my piece and you can listen to me or you cannot, but I really think that it's hard to find answers. It's hard to find any answers. My best friend, comes to me and she's like, well, what can I do? Or I was with my friends. I was hanging out with my friends when I found out about all these negative comments that were said about me. And I'm visibly distraught. And they're my friends. So they're like, what can I do? I'm so sorry. Like, this shouldn't be happening, trying to, say things to make me feel better. And they're like, what can I do? Is there anything I can do? And truthfully, I said, thank you for being there for me. And thank you for, listening and, wanting to make me feel better. But I don't have the answers. And a lot of people don't have the answers right now. So it's
like I said before, it's just, people that, that aren't of color, like myself, they have to, again, like, educate themselves, but also, have conversations with people of color. So for instance, I'm sure your teams, they also do like team Zoom meetings like every weekend. And, we had a very deep one yesterday, and we were just talking about, the current events that's been going on, as well as, sharing, individual stories on, how they were been mistreated by the, police force. And it was just hard. It was sad. It was just like, I've never been in that situation again, like I said, but, hearing their perspectives, hearing how they've gone through it, it's just, it opens your mind a little bit, and you kind of understand now, like, where this pain is coming from. And, people just have to learn to, accept, again, I'll say it, like, the white privilege is real. you know, and you have to accept it. But nevertheless, you have to not only acknowledge it, but, you know, make a difference and give your voice. And that's what people have to do, rather than, like I said, just stay quiet, stay in one space and not vote or something like that.
I think Lauren hit it on the top of the head. Just educate. You know,
Educate,
everything in life
exactly.
is educate. One thing I really wanted to become smart. Like, this is one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to become more intellectual. I was always a jokester. I wanted to enhance my vocabulary, which I really think I did a little bit. And one thing someone told me was, you got to read. And you got to read, aka educate. You know, educate yourself. And I did a lot of reading, and I've learned so much that has made me the person I am today. And it's one of the things, like, you got to educate yourself. And I think you hit that boom on the head. Is just, that's really the answer to all this. Like, don't change. Like, whoever you are, be yourself and be truthful, but educate. Know both parties. You get what I'm saying? Like,
not be ignorant. Like,
this is,
people are getting mad because,
hey,
you know, why is it Black Lives Matter? It's not all lives matter. It's because Black lives are being targeted the most and they're being mistreated the most. They just have to educate themselves.
And it's like,
You know what I mean?
hey, here's a house that's burning down. Okay.
Yes.
Here's a neighborhood that's chill, you know, that's vibing. It's just everybody's in their house, everybody's cool and having barbecues and stuff. Here's a house that's burning down. This house matters. But that doesn't take away from all the other houses that matter. But this house needs the most help right now. You know what I mean? And that's the easiest, the most, you know, A plus B, 1 plus 1 way of looking at it and seeing that, you know, by saying Black Lives Matter, that does not mean that white lives don't matter, Hispanic lives don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, that's
100%.
It's just talking about who's being targeted the most. Yeah.
But you should not have to include the statement "all lives matter" when you're speaking about Black lives. It is not necessary. There's no but. There's a period.
And that's what people don't understand.
You know what's crazy? It's like, you could sit there and hear these famous people talk, but you have here the new generation of people.
Yeah.
Like, we will be, us three right here in the Zoom call, we will be successful somehow or some way. Like, we will be looked at as successful one day in our lives. And it's like, hearing this from us is huge, because we are the generation that is coming up right now in the rise. And we could really affect the kid in our neighborhood. We could really be directly, because someone in our neighborhood could text me right now and be like, Ali, what did you mean by that? Lauren, what did you mean by that? We could really influence people that are around us in our age group. And I think that's so huge and such, I don't know. I think you hit it. Again, you're just killing this, because the house thing is huge. I don't know.
I can see it and explain to people who are trying to advocate for, you know, that statement, which, again, I'm not going to hate on anybody's opinion, because that's just a misinterpretation. But I do think, you know, like you said, and like I said, education is everything. You know, I've been reading, you know, quarantine has got me redoing my room, meditating, reading books, you know what I mean?
Because you've never done before.
Ever.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
You know,
Ever.
I read books in high school and I did stuff for middle school and stuff, but since I've been in college, I'm like, I didn't ever sit down and, you know, try and grow as a person, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like, you know, I will plug one of my books I just read, and it's 10 Things You'll Never Do Again. And in there, it talks about, you know, so many ways that you can grow as a person, and, you know, incredible things that you never thought of, you know what I mean? Like, example, one of them is going backwards and doing something that, you know, you did before, thinking that there's going to be a different, you know, outcome. And that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, nothing happening. But I think that, you know, part of that in itself, like that one of the 10 things, is like the people that are here and they're posting these negative things and are trying to change people's minds. And I'm not here, you know, my mission or my job on this earth might be different than somebody else's. Somebody else might want to be an advocate and argue all those people on Facebook and argue in the comments of every post, you know what I mean? And that's not necessarily what I'm going to do. But I'm saying, you know, once I do something to give you my knowledge and to try and educate you the best that I can, I am not going to go backwards and keep fighting.
Lead by example.
Then that messes with my energy and my peace, and that's something that is not being disturbed.
It's just before when this quarantine happened, right? The first 2 weeks, I was playing a lot of video games, hanging out with my friends over the game and stuff like that. And one day, it just clicked in my head, like, what am I doing? How am I getting better? First of all, I gained like 10 pounds sitting there on the couch, and it's just, I'm over here like, what am I doing? How am I getting better? How am I becoming more intellectual? And I started reading. I started looking up people, Warren Buffett and stuff like that. And to get into like that whole mindset thing. Warren Buffett's always said, you get one brain. We get one brain your whole life. And it's like, grow it. It's like an athlete. It's like you want to become bigger, stronger. You lift weights, you do this and that. But what do you do for your brain? What do you do for that? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you exercising? What are you trying to do to become better every day more and more? And that's what this quarantine has taught me. Before this craziness has happened, was like, oh my God, like I need to do something to take advantage of this time, because we might never have ever what happened during this quarantine ever happen again.
All this free time, for sure.
All this free time? Are you serious?
For a college student?
As an athlete, when have you ever had this much free time? Ever?
It's weird. Like I'm telling you right now, it's weird. And that's why so many people have been feeling so many different emotions, because I've never had, well, granted, my season ended. So after this year, I was accepting the fact that I wasn't ever going to have practice every day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So after this, and now it's a whole bunch of people that are feeling like this. It's so weird because I've never had, a week off. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm living. Like, let's go. But now we have months. We're going on like 2 months of this quarantine stuff. And I was the same way as you. And like I said, I love, advocating for mental health. That's something that's really interesting. And the first 2 weeks of this quarantine, I was not in a good place. And I know plenty of other people that were also not in good spaces. And I think just like you said, one day you kind of wake up and you're like, well, shit, like, what did I do these last 2 weeks? And like, if this is going to last, if this is going to go on for another couple months, like, there's only so much Netflix you can watch. You know what I mean? Like,
there's only
like
so
you
much.
got to do something. So that's when I want to tell people, whoever's listening to this or whoever's, going to relay this message, it is not too late to get up, find a passion, read a book, do something to grow yourself intellectually as a person that is long lasting. You know what I mean?
Talk
Your
to me.
Netflix show will give you 5 minutes of your whatever, an hour of tranquility, but you can teach a man how to fish, or you can give him a fish. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You can do
I felt that.
You can do something.
Repeat that to me one more time.
How to fish, or you can give him a fish that you caught.
My monitor just went off. My monitor is clicking.
Both people are gonna eat. Both people are gonna eat. Listen, one person will temporarily have that meal and they're gonna enjoy themselves and whatever. The other person is gonna eat for a lifetime. So do things that you can, you can expand on, and you can, let enhance your career and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
One thing that clicked in my head that I became like a psycho is something in my head that I have now is I don't want to be average. I don't want to be average. I don't want to be average. No matter what I do in life, I have something in my head that's like, I want to be successful. I want to get to $1 million. Like, that's like, I am installed in my mind. Like, that is where I want to be. And I keep putting that out to the world. And it's like, man, like, what am I doing to get there though? If I'm sitting here playing video games, it's cool and stuff, but what am I doing? Nothing.
You're not benefiting yourself.
Nothing. And I'll be honest with you, like, I had to basically retire from baseball, and it was difficult. I cried that day. But right there, like maybe a couple hours later, I'm like, you know what? I got this. I'm gonna find it.
And the lessons and the things that you learned from baseball your entire life are with you still. That kind of stuff, all that stuff is with you. That's what I'm saying.
100%.
We need to do things to develop our person and our character and things that are going to impact other people right now. And it's not too late. It's not too late. I will link my book list on my Instagram for anybody that wants to go look at the books that I've read. You know what I mean? Like,
audiobook girl, or you read it?
I like to read and I like to hold it. I don't like the
classical.
That me up. Oh my God. Yes, sir. That's what I said too. I had like an audiobook and I didn't like it. I liked it a little bit, but it's like, it wasn't really making me my intellectual self that I am right now, just kidding. But truly, I like holding it. I don't know.
It's the same for me. And then I can make a little stack in my room and I'm like, oh, I read that.
Bro,
it's just accomplishments.
I'm so crazy. I'm taking summer classes, having an internship, and running a podcast. Like, I just don't want to be doing nothing.
Likewise,
I just can't sit here and just be like, oh, yeah, no problem. Quarantine, no problem. Like, no, if I could get out of this quarantine running, you know how much of a head start I have compared to the other group going like, yo, I need a couple of days to kind of get used to this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I'm already in front. Like, catch up, bro. Let's do this. Let's go. Come on.
And that's the mentality you have to have. Yeah.
I made a statement recently, and it was like, there's going to be two types of people. And people always say that kind of stuff all the time. Oh, there's two types of people. You know what I mean? But like there is genuinely going to be two types of people that come out of this, and you will notice. You'll notice in your friends, your family, your peers, the people you work with, people in the classroom. You're gonna see who tried to grow as a person, who tried to, expand their wealth, their, intellectual, mindsets, that kind of stuff. And then you're gonna see the people that stayed comfortable. And I will say this too. If you're comfortable, it's a problem.
Mm.
I mean, that's a big problem.
Mm.
Because growth does not come from comfort. And I think that is something that I can attest to completely, because I had a rough, and I will be honest, I had a rough, couple of years in college, especially my freshman year. So it's like, but now looking back, I'm like, wow, if I didn't go through that, and this kind of thing happened to me now, how would I respond to it? How would I react to it? What's my mindset on that? Because I already went through it, I'm that much farther.
I agree with you on that aspect. When I hit rock bottom after my accident and I was sitting in my room with basically the door closed and I really couldn't do much, I said, well, this is rock bottom. This is the lowest I could go. And I said, you know what? You got to hit rock bottom to really know, okay, this is now I'm going to use this as a platform to just
you are a
motivate yourself, man.
Testament to that. And I'm sure a role model for so many people, including myself, because everybody thinks that they hit their low point. You know what I mean? I had a game where I scored 0, 0, 0, like that kind of thing, and I was like, wow, this sucks. You know what I mean? But when you realize, like, somebody else is going through something so much worse than me. Like your situation, I would say, like there's so many people, like tons of people that have never even come close to experiencing anything like that. And then to see your mindset now and to see where you're at now, it's truly a testament to exactly what we're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. It's just, that's the goal I'm doing here, is just being as genuine Ali as I am and just growing, like not being the same Ali you met a couple years ago. Like, be like, oh, this man changed. Yes, I changed. Again, I'll repeat the same thing I said last time. I leveled up. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't tell me I haven't. Yes, I have changed, but not in a bad way, like in a good way. Like my boys from my town still hit me up. Kids I haven't talked to in years. And I'm the same old Ali. What's up, bro? How you been? Everything good? Great. Like, it's just keep it moving. It's just, I don't know. And I appreciate you saying that, because it's just, I want to show that growth and I want to inspire people. And I just want to make people want to be better, because there's always something more we could do, and the athlete's toughest part is realizing the end. Like, when this is done, what is next?
Exactly.
Because we're all going to end up retiring. Like I said before, too, LeBron's going to end up retiring. He needs to have another career, or need to at least become a coach.
He's got a couple of bucks lined up for him.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he has things lined up for himself, and it's
but
like,
you notice that even in his career, he's done so many other things.
So many.
Philanthropy, freaking opening a whole school for kids. He's not just fixed on one aspect, which is sports. He's always versatile and has other businesses that he's done. And, those are kind of role models that like a lot of athletes should be taking. But like Lo was talking about, during this time period when you're not by your sport or with your coaches, this is the time for growth and, becoming versatile in some things that you've never tried before, stepping out of your shell and doing stuff. Like, that's just going to improve yourself and your mindset, I feel. And Lo is an example of it.
She just said it, her freshman year. She's not the same. She'll probably laugh at her freshman year self. Like how much she's like grown. Look at her eyes.
So what would you say? From at your point right now, what would you say to yourself freshman year? Like, what's some advice you would give?
So, to say to myself, but also I will extend this to people that I want to call my family. Anybody that is a high school senior, somebody who just committed, D1, D3, JUCO, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much learning and understanding, of what goes into college sports, you know what I mean? And like I said, mental health is like huge for me. There's going to be things that, you don't think your body can do, and you're going to be running or you're going to be lifting, whatever, and you're going to have those types of, struggles. And geez, I don't think I can do this. Your body's not the problem. I'll tell you that right now. Your body's never the problem. There's some, I can't remember the exact number, but your body can do so much more than you think your body can do. The only thing that's holding you back is right here.
Talk to me. Talk to me nice. Yes, sir. So 100%. 100%.
So it's like, So it's like once you can figure this out and once you can get past, beating yourself, you are like skyrocketing past your opponents, your teammates, your old self, you know what I mean? Like you're only, opening up opportunities for growth. You know what I mean? So like a few tangible things that like you can take away from this are: one, develop some skills. And I will say that it's kind of a vague statement. But what I mean by that is, I was lucky enough to have parents that taught me how to deal with, adversity. And I've dealt with racism and, a lot of different things going on. So I had, this toolbox that, if I got sad, I knew what to do. If I got, if I felt happy, I knew what to do. If I felt this, I knew what to do. But when you go to college, it's like completely amplified. Like take any feeling you've ever felt and multiply it like by 10, because your happy moments, you're living by yourself, your parents aren't here, you know what I mean? You're in your dorm, you don't have to answer to anybody, you're going to get McDonald's at 2 a.m., you know what I mean? Like you don't
You
have to
do
ask
whatever you
anybody.
want.
That's cool. It's a very unique environment. You're on 100, you know what I mean? But then those moments, especially in sports, when things are hard and your body's tired and school is difficult and you don't want to go to class and you're not getting any playing time and you're on the bench and you feel like your efforts are just ignored, and you can get into a extremely dark place, especially if you're
Oof.
hard on yourself, you know what I mean? So I
Really.
think that this development of skills and of ways that you can combat these feelings is extremely important, because if I would have known firsthand how important my mental health was my freshman year, oh my God, the player I would have been. And I'm not saying, I never really have any regrets.
But
I mean?
the player you would have been, but the person you are now is what's
Yeah.
huge. The person you become now, that's the best thing apart that situation. It made you who you are now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that how old are you right now?
21.
21 years old with this mindset, you're not going to tell me you're not going to be successful? Please.
Yeah.
Tell me not. With this
No,
mindset you have now, you know how many kids that are 21 years old don't have nowhere near this mindset yet?
Exactly. All they think about is just getting the degree, and they don't have a plan. They don't have a set plan or goals ahead of them.
Like,
that's the mindset you have to have. Goals.
I always tell this, like, Sal, you may have not been the Division I basketball player, whatever, but you found a way to not use as an excuse. You don't need to be like, I'm not an athlete, so it is what it is. I'll go to school.
Just go to school and leave. Yeah, no.
No, it's like, no, go find that. Even though I had to retire from baseball, hey, I cried. It is what it is. But it's time to find what's next for me to become better and just grow as a person. And that's what's huge. And I feel that's the main topic of all this. And I think that's amazing, that point you had, Lo.
No, I think skills are the most, like, the very first thing you need to do. Whether that means, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know what that even means. Like, how do you get skills? How do you go through stuff, and find your reactions that you're going to have? And it's hard, and it's something that's difficult. It's a difficult conversation, because if you've never been through something like that, like you could tie back to what we were talking about before. It's hard to understand, and it's hard to, put yourself in that position. But with that being said, try your best to develop skills, to like positive skills, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in this dark place, you're not drinking and you're not staying in bed all day and you're not doing, self-care, reading books.
Yep.
Second thing I will say is find that support system, which is another type of skill that you can have. You know what I mean? And you're going to see, it's hard, and I'm sorry to break it to you, but your 15 top friends in high school that think that you're never going to live without, you might talk to 5 of them in a couple years. You know what I mean? It's like that for me, and I'm completely okay with that now. It kind of hurt at first when I went away for college, and I didn't really talk to my same friends that I grew up with and I thought would be there forever. I would vouch for, take a bullet for, jump off a bridge for type thing. And then you get to college and people kind of forget, and they're doing their own thing, you're doing your own thing, and that's no longer your support system. You know what I mean? It's super important to find those people, and I can count the people on my hand, including my family, that if I'm in a situation where I need help or I am low or I'm going through something, I know I can call those people and lean on them. You know what I mean? And, take my struggles and kind of not unload it on them, but, show them a piece of what I'm feeling, so you don't have to go through it alone. Because I think my freshman year, what I thought is, I'm 7 hours from home. I'm in this dorm room, it's winter break. It's, I'm here because basketball stays in school all year pretty much, and my roommate isn't here, and I'm by myself. And, I'm not going to reach out to somebody because nobody wants to hear my problems, but I was upset and I was sad, and I let myself get into this cycle of just feeling sorry for myself and not trying as hard and not trying as hard in school and letting my grades slip. And, my mental health was one of the lowest points it's ever been. And I wish I could tell myself, I wish I could have A, had the skills, B, had the support system. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is reaching out for that support. You know what I mean? Not being afraid to reach out, not being afraid to go to therapy, not being afraid
questions
to have the conversation with my coach and knock on my coach's office and say, hey, just letting you know, I've been having some really, really bad thoughts. And when I get to practice and you're screaming at my face, you know what I mean? I might be having a little bit of a harder time than the next person. You know what I'm saying? And 100%. I think that transparency and that relationship that I was able to have with my coach my senior year, and that relationship, I had a pretty good relationship with my coach before that, but I'm saying, like, specifically my senior year, having a relationship with my coach and with my family and with the people around me and being able to reach out for that support and making yourself vulnerable makes the biggest difference. You know what I mean?
Big shout out to Coach Ange for real. Like, being able to connect with you guys as players, as people, and then players. That's amazing.
The fact that you say that is huge, because I was watching the Kevin Hart with Joe Rogan podcast, and one thing he said was he was talking to Chase, and Chase was like, "Oh, we're gonna send Chase representatives to talk to the kids about financial stuff," and Kevin Hart goes, "No, you need to send people that have been from that community."
Yeah.
That they can understand, that they can listen to.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's like saying, like, this is what I did. If you don't want to do it, that's on you. It's cool, but this is what worked for me. And it's a lot easier to understand that. And I think that's one thing that clicked in my head. Like, that's so true. Like, here you have people from communities, which we're not big time. We're nowhere near a big time podcast. But if you can listen to this could help you long term. Like, this could change your whole life. Just that click, like, oh man, I should ask a little more questions.
That's why I try so hard to just to talk to anybody. When we have recruits, my coaches are like, oh, you want to go to lunch with them, you want to meet with their family, you want to spend free time with them. And sometimes I'm like, geez, like, why are you always asking me? But you're asking me because you can see that, I'm not going to let somebody come into this trap and not know what they're getting into. And I'm sorry I call it a trap, because Division I athletics I'm not going to say it's a trap, but it's a very interesting situation that they do not let you in on all of the little things of the business. You know what I mean? So it's like, I wish that I had somebody on I had a pretty good visit, but I'm saying, I know a lot of people that go on these visits, these college visits, and they're like, oh my gosh, I made a D1, I'm getting recruited. And they're not looking, this can be my fourth tip. On your visits, you're not looking at, you're looking at the aesthetics and, the courts and the facilities.
The looks, yeah.
Kind of stuff. And you're
not
like,
the reality.
I can see myself in that uniform with those colors, on the court, that kind of stuff is what people are thinking about. The education, of course, is important, but look at your coaching staff, look at the team, look at, ask about their outlets for mental health. And I know that might be a hard question for some people to ask, but it's so important. Ask your coach what their feelings are on mental health and how they can, how they combat, a really long season and that kind of stuff. And, ask these important questions that, if you want to ask them one-on-one, that's your thing. But having that talk with a player or somebody and try to get that transparency to really understand that program, understand your coach, and understand if, if you're having a hard time, like I had a hard time, if you're going to be able to reach out and have that support system, be able to have that person be there for you. Because if you can't, you might have some problems. And that's when you get the results of, transferring, quitting, dropping out of college, that kind of stuff. And if you make it Division I, you're in that 1% already. You know what I mean? So you got to do everything you can. You're already different. You got to do everything you can to stay successful,
stay alive.
Exactly. Because it's tough.
And that's a tip. I feel like that's a tip that goes for anybody, not even just athletics. Like any student, like you have to look for a college that suits you ahead of your future, like that sets your future up, basically. You're not just looking there, just for the aesthetics, as you were saying, just for the looks. Like, this is such a beautiful campus, I want to go here. You have to look into the details, like, One is their program's good, wherever major you're in. So like for me, business, is it a good business school? Two, am I going to benefit anything that I learn from and take it into my major, accounting? And, that's what people have to educate themselves as well. It's not about the drinking and the partying. It's about getting the education and having that mindset that I have established a future and having a job in the future.
Just staying true to yourself and staying to your lane. Like, don't change yourself.
Don't listen to other people.
Grow up and upgrade. The same way you upgrade your phone, upgrade yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Buckle up. Like, what's up? This is who I am.
Exactly.
I'm not putting down at all the fact that you might want to go to school because it's gorgeous, and you know what I mean. Like,
of course not. Of course not.
It has the atmosphere. That kind of stuff is important too, because
of course,
I think that our school might lack a little bit of that kind of aesthetic, which would be, but I'm saying the most important thing, like on the top of the list, it should be on the top of the list, is these kind of schools that have these resources. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Imagine me going to a school like, let's say, like Dartmouth. I could barely pronounce the name. I had a kid who, I don't even know what college is, going to a school like that with all these probably people who probably parents have been in that spot. I'm most likely going to really, really lose myself and fail, really easily fail. But if I go to FDU, where I'm the first generation college student, where there's a lot of first generation college students, where there's a lot of people that are diversified and are trying this new thing like college, hey, you fit in. But I know that my sister, hopefully with what she's learned from me, I could set her up for a little better and prepare her and grow her. And that's just the point of it all. Is just every day by example. I don't know. I think that's such a huge thing. And that was amazing, Lauren. All the advice you've given. I mean, man, I just thank you for being on the show and just.
Of course, I'm so excited to be here and to be able to speak to anybody that's listening and share some of my story, because if there's anything I can say, it's talk to people and get advice from people who have lived in the shoes that you're trying to fill, because those are the ones that are going to give you the honest and transparent opinion. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I feel like this episode, we're not just focused. This whole point of this podcast, again, we're not focusing for the drama, the entertainment. We're here for the information, the education, to educate viewers and learn about, the stories from our guests. Your story, of course, was inspiring, motivating, and on top of it, we had to address, current issues of today. We have to. We can't go silent on it. We have to. And that's the thing that people need to understand, and especially with social media, is that this certain issue, it's not a political issue. This is a human rights issue, and that needs to be a stepping stone for a lot of people when it comes to talking about it. So again, I applaud you for being here.
And another thing is, I thank you for just not making this kind of like an interviewee type of thing. Like you really express yourself, and it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to have a conversation about growth and about hardships and about failures when you have someone who's opened up and said, this is what I've been through, this is what I've done to get away from that. And oh my God, you're such a good public speaker for such a quiet person. Wow, you really killed it. You are amazing, Lauren.
Thanks for having me. Seriously, I love that.
For sure. Oh my God, we'll definitely have you back on. Trust me, this is just the introduction of you. So that was amazing. Thank you for tuning in.
This was the final two. Pleasure to have you again, Lo. Peace.